The 93X Half-Ass Morning Show podcast is sponsored by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning.
It is savings on a stick season with Standard Heating and Air Conditioning's State Fair specials. Deals on deals on deals that can save you thousands. Visit standardheating.com for all their State Fair deals. Standard Heating, providing the comfort you deserve since 1930.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show, Backtracks Edition.
Today should be a good one. Later on this morning, barring a disaster, and they've happened.
Oh, I hope not today.
They've happened before. That's why I dump it in there. Barring a disaster. We're going to get to chat with all-time big league great Joe Mauer here in our Garbage Radio studios. It's our first time talking with the guy on air. He and Channel 5 sports anchor Joe Schmidt are going to drop by at 7:30 to talk about a book that Joe Schmidt has wrote. Which way do I go with that?
Written.
A book that Joe Schmidt written.
Well, the has was important.
Yeah.
Before you had the has in there.
That was neat.
See, here you'd use wrote.
It's a book.
Yes, it is a book.
Yes.
Joe Schmidt wrote it.
No.
And the book was inspired by Joe Mauer.
One of the nicest guys in town. Well, both those guys.
Absolutely.
The book was inspired by, well, we'll let the fellas explain it. The book was inspired by the kind of guy Joe Mauer was and is. It's a children's book, I believe.
Yep.
And we'll find out all about that and whatever else the fellas want to rap about. We're all big fans of Joe Mauer's. The way I see it, if you're somehow not a fan of Joe Mauer as an athlete or a person, that's your problem. Mm-hmm. You've got something wrong with you.
Well, especially a person. Mm-hmm. I mean, you hear so many stories about what a good guy that he is and what a good guy he's been since he's a kid. He's just always been a good dude.
Seems like everybody in Minnesota has some type of story where they had some sort of maybe brief or maybe not brief run-in with Joe Mauer and just how wonderful he was.
I don't have that story yet, so I guess today will be my story. Yeah.
Hope so. We were joking yesterday about what if it's all an act? He comes here and he's just a total diva. He's a jerk to us off air.
He's got a big entourage. He's like texting on 4 different cell phones that won't make eye contact with us.
I would kind of love that.
He shows up drunk. His nose is bleeding, you know.
Dana we're going with. We're like, hey, no one's seen him in a while. He's just hammered off his ass.
Cameraman Jesus used to work with Joe Schmidt, and he loves him. He said he absolutely loves Joe Schmidt.
Yeah, Joe Schmidt's no punk either. I mean, that effing guy's been busting his ass in the television news business in this town for near 40 years. Pert near. And he's not doing this cake anchor gig that Shaver does at KARE 11.
Yeah, he's got to get out there, write his own stories, chase his own interviews.
Yeah, out in the field.
Prepare.
So like I said, we're fans. So I think the key to success in a situation like this is to keep our composure with these big timers coming in to see us this morning around 7:30. And I'm interested in hearing all about this new book. And tell me if I'm wrong here. Joe Schmidt has put together a couple of books prior to this one. He's an author?
Yes.
And at least one of those books was also about the career of Joe Mauer?
Also correct.
Wow, these guys must hang out. Schmidt and Mauer.
Oh, yeah, they must be buddies, right?
Well, I suppose Schmidt, watched him grow up, So I suppose that's a big, he's a big part of his life.
Been covering since high school.
Oh, yeah. I mean, okay, what year was that when Joe went number 1 overall?
2001.
Oh, it was 2001?
Mm-hmm. That's when he graduated high school.
I was going to say 98 or 99. Okay, I'm not going to tell this story to Joe Mauer, but baseball fans will get this story. At the time, I knew a sports guy in town by the name of Tim McNiff. Tim McNiff worked for Channel 11 with Randy way back in the 90s. I forget what Tim is up to now, but Tim and I became pretty good buddies working together on the radio. And McNiff was a huge Mauer fan. Tim would talk about Joe as a high school athlete, in that time period, late 90s. Tim would always talk about, I'm telling you, this Mauer kid's going to be incredible, that he's going to be that guy in the big leagues. And I'll never forget, Tim came in. Tim was done working with us at that point. He had moved on to other things. But I ran into Tim at a gas station on the day that Joe Mauer was drafted. And Timmy walks up to me and he goes, "Hey, Mauer got taken number 1 overall by the Twins," or whatever. That was the correct situation,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, Mauer got taken number 1 overall by the Twins." And I said, "They should have went with Mark Pryor." I wasn't sold on it. I thought it was a lot of hype, and I don't think anybody really could fault me too badly for that. I thought it was just Minnesotans going a little too crazy over a local kid. You know what I'm saying?
Having their blinders on a little bit.
Right. Boy, was I wrong. And so when Tim McNiff said, told you the Twins took him number 1, I said they should have taken Mark Pryor, who ended up being a very good big league pitcher, but not for a very long period of time. He got injured and this and that. Remember, Mark Pryor pitched for the Cubs when they had those pretty damn good teams in the early 2000s.
You've always been kind of a Cubs guy.
Oh, God, I love the Cubs.
Been very vocal about that.
I was the first guy in town to start harassing Steve Bartman.
You ran him out of town.
I ran him right out of town when he screwed my team, the Cubs, out of that appearance in the World Series.
What was it for a while there, and before their most recent World Series? You see Cubs hats all the time. One of my neighbors has one. A neighbor kid. He's a Cubs fan.
Even before they had that fluky run to the World Series.
It's weird to hear you say fluky as such a big fan.
Right.
But why was that?
Why? Because they're the lovable losers, because they were on national television. Right?
Well, they're also on WGN, which we got here locally.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
that's what I'm referencing. WGN. They were on a national cable channel. So, that's how it worked out. The lovable losers, the Harry Carey thing, that's what made so many people all over the country, half-ass Cubs fans.
You don't see it as much anymore. The people wearing Cubs hats around town.
Well, does WGN still play Cubs games?
Ooh. I'm not sure.
Is there still a WGN?
Still around?
You're right.
I mean, it's still around. I don't think we get it anymore, though, here locally.
Okay, yeah, that was, sure.
I even loved the Cubs for a while.
Oh, God.
As a child, I have a Build-A-Bear, and obviously he's a Cubs fan. That's adorable.
Yeah, I liked the Cubs growing up, too, just because of Sammy Sosa. I absolutely loved the guy.
Oh, yeah.
When he was just crushing home runs, and I was young, so I had no idea what was going on.
And again, you could find their day games on cable,
and it looked like so much fun with everyone in the bleachers, and then the moss growing on Wrigley Field. That always looked cool to me.
I think is it moss? What is it?
It's mold, actually.
Yeah, someone should take care of
What
that.
is it? It's ivy, isn't it?
Yeah, ivy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway,
I'm a little nervous. I expected Ashley to be all dolled up today. And you dress comfortably.
Yeah.
You got a sweatshirt.
Well, I wore cute boots, though.
Okay, you wore cute boots. So I thought, Ashley, we don't have to worry about her. I thought maybe you were going to try and leave with Joe Mauer, and that would backfire, I believe. He's a happily married man. But now I'm actually a little more worried. Like you've got something else up your sleeve.
No.
You're not going to strip for the guys, are you?
I never really got that... No offense to Joe Mauer, of course, but I never really got that attraction vibe because
Seriously?
Because from such a young age, I just grew up watching him play. I mean, since I was
You took him more seriously as a ball player.
Yes.
Than you took him as a heartthrob.
Yep.
Because you were dialed into baseball and softball and things like that.
Oh, gosh, yeah. That was him and, the Torrey Hunter, Santana, Morneau, that was... what made me fall in love with baseball and softball altogether. And so I've never looked at him in that way. It's more of somebody to look up to.
Josh,
Gotcha.
you know my friggin' wife, right?
Of course I do. I don't understand the inflection there, but yes.
To this day, if she sees Torii Hunter on television, she gets short of breath.
I can see why.
I
And
decided,
he's also such a cool, charismatic guy. That adds to it, obviously.
I decided to get on the ground floor for the Joe Mauer ass kiss party that we're going to have later. I decided to get on the ground floor by wearing my Twins hat today. Dana's still head-to-toe Buffalo Bills dork. But I wore my Twins stocking cap just to let the fellas know, hey, I've been there from day one.
I almost wore a My Morneau t-shirt
Sure.
just to, kind of become a problem, but...
Oh, I don't think that would create any problem.
No,
They're best buddies. They used to live together.
I do have a signed Joe Mauer rookie card, and I thought about bringing it in and having him sign it a second time.
Double signing.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. You have a signed. Where did you get it signed? You remember meeting him at a mall or something back when you were a kid, or?
Actually, I was lucky enough. My ex's father-in-law knew I was a huge Joe Mauer fan, and he has always been into the Twins. He is one of those types that would take like those playbooks or whatever it is and write down like
He would keep a
every
score.
Yeah, scorebook. And so he decided to give me the Joe Mauer rookie card.
Well, how did he get his hands on a Joe? How did he get it signed? Do you know the story?
He used to go to Twins Fest.
Oh, Twins
Yeah.
Fest.
Yep.
Josh and I got thrown out of there years ago for drinking too much beer.
That makes sense for Josh, yeah.
We got thrown out of Twins Fest.
Well,
Typical.
he didn't say how many I drank. It was about half, and I was just half, 3 sheets to the wind. The Twins Fest, that's fun. Go every year.
I love Twins Fest.
Yeah, I enjoy it. My kids absolutely love it.
Do they still do it?
Oh, yeah.
I know
Sure
that
do.
They paused it during COVID and all that.
Yeah, they
but
paused a couple of things during COVID, as far as I know.
I just wasn't sure if they ever brought it back.
Oh, yeah, they
They
brought
did.
it back.
That's cool.
It's coming up maybe at the end of
the month,
Yeah, last
this-
weekend of this month.
Yeah.
This month, end of this month.
Yep.
Well, that's pretty. You have an autographed Joe Mauer rookie card. You should have brought it in and maybe asked Joe and Joe what they think it would be worth when Joe Mauer eventually goes into the Hall of Fame. I know we've had these conversations before, and it's never as much as you maybe think it would be, but
You know what would have been hilarious? If you brought it in and he's like, yeah, that's not my signature.
Yeah.
Awesome.
oh, come on. Why didn't you should have
Can
thought
somebody
to
take a picture of it and send it to us?
Yeah. Oh,
That-
yeah. I'll wake my boyfriend up.
Oh, this will be fun. Okay. That would be great.
Let's verify this thing.
Let's verify that. Josh, that's brilliant. What if it's not really Joe Mauer's signature and your ex's father-in-law just thought you were a sucker?
We
That-
worked with
that
a
would
guy
track.
who, I believe it was Jared Leto. He got something signed by Jared Leto, and he was all furious because it was just like an X. If I'm remembering this correctly, it was something like an X, and he just went off. He was so upset and thought, what a disrespectful jerk. He didn't even want to sign it. He just put an X on there, and then we got a bunch of people texting in saying, yeah, dude, that's his signature. That's exactly what he does.
Really?
Oh, he wasn't just being a jerk to you. That's kind of what he does. But in this case, gosh, I don't know which way to go on it. I don't want you to be disappointed, but boy, would that be hilarious.
That
That
would
would be
be
great.
very funny if Joe Mauer says, look, that's not my signature.
I'd be okay with that.
And I'm trying to figure out the math on it, but your ex's father-in-law, if he gave you just something completely worthless. Wait, you mean your ex-husband?
Yes, my ex-husband's
Wouldn't that be your dad?
stepfather, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say.
Yeah, as you said that, I was like, oh, I messed that up.
Your ex-husband's stepfather.
Yep.
All right, we'll get this sorted out by the time Joe Mauer and Joe Schmidt. Well, speaking of that kind of thing where maybe you got scammed, in the stupid news, we've got a story about a Snoop Dogg look-alike that you might take interest in a little bit later, where people thought it was the real Snoop Dogg, but it really was not.
That is pretty funny.
I love when that happens.
He kind of looked like Snoop Dogg.
A little bit,
And
I
if
guess.
you don't know enough,
Yeah, I could see how people could fall for it. So,
I always see that on Twitter, and it's usually an intoxicated woman. And she's like, oh, I met Pete Davidson last night, and looks nothing like Pete Davidson.
I hear you. This is interesting. A text message from Backyard Haircut Jesus. He has a Joe Mauer fact for us. Joe Mauer was breastfed on Killebrew root beer.
We got some of that at the house. That's a family
Do you?
favorite. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
You guys like that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
I can't remember the last time I had a root beer.
Can I bring one in for you? Do you want one? Or do you drink that stuff? I mean,
Yeah.
it's caffeine free.
As long as there ain't any caffeine in it, I can drink it without any fear of sudden death. So there you go. 7:30 this morning. We're skipping the dad fights in case you're sitting here priming yourself for a Brad Ryder versus Randy Shaver dad fight today. We're going to can that for a week so we can focus our time on Joe Schmidt and Joe Mauer. Randy Shaver will join us. Brad Ryder will also, I think, be calling in, right?
Yep.
Brad must have worked with Joe.
Yeah, we were talking about that off the air. We have to assume the timeline's matched up on that.
They must have matched. I should be more clear what the hell we're talking about. Brad Ryder, before his career with the Timberwolves as their media relations guy, before that drama, he worked for the Minnesota Twins in the same capacity. He worked for Golden Gopher Hockey in the same capacity. So Brad knows a lot of jocks here in town, and I would imagine they must have crossed paths once or twice.
This text says, F, I was edging all week for dad fights. Edging. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Gross.
There are people out there who really like it, I guess. That's going to be something. All right. But I mean, autographed memorabilia does usually go up in price once that athlete reaches the Hall of Fame. I just don't.
Yeah. You got your Brett Favre football.
I do have a Brent Favre autographed official NFL football.
I mean, he hasn't done much to keep his reputation on the positive side lately.
No, he has not.
But maybe people will forget later
the
on.
Suckers down in Mississippi, and there's still probably a handful of suckers in Green Bay that would probably give me way more money than I deserve for that item.
Oh, yeah. I know a couple you can hit up.
Yeah.
Did anyone here? Sorry, to go back to Joe Mauer. Anybody here go to one of the sideburns days at the Twins game where you get the sideburns?
No, I never made it one of those.
Yeah,
Those are fun, though.
I always wanted some.
I remember the bit, and I think they sent us some here to the radio station, so we dorks were walking around the building, for a few days.
Yeah, I didn't get mine. Somebody took mine.
The Joe Mauer sideburns giveaway.
Pretty funny.
Whenever there's an article, on ESPN or Sports Illustrated or whatever, any of these other sports-related websites, whenever they break down some of the silliest baseball giveaways, baseball promotions, that always makes the list. That is really clever that they went through with that. There was a time when you'd go to the old Metrodome. You got the new one now. The old Metrodome, where Joe Mauer played most of his games, there was a time where you would see fans who hoarded those Joe Mauer sideburns and would make a full beard out of it. They'd make themselves a monobrow with it. Just, people went crazy for that silly item.
Pretty funny.
Those were fun teams and fun days, man.
Oh, yeah.
God dang. They had some teams come awful close.
Brad Ryder's a clever guy. I wonder if he came up with any of those. I could see him doing it.
Well, Christ, I wonder if he had any say in those kinds of things. Well, let's make sure we ask Brad about that. But Randy will be extra excited today, Randy Shaver. Because,
Well, he loves celebrities.
he does. He does. And I think he and Joe Schmidt are pretty tight. And, Randy kind of hooked us up with this. So Randy's going to be walking proud today when we talk to him at 7:30. He does love famous people. He'll argue that, but don't listen to him. Listen to him.
He kind of gets like my wife when she's on the phone. For whatever reason, she talks in a higher register, I think, to sound pleasant.
The nice voice.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's so noticeable. And and Randy is kind of like that too. He speaks a little different at times.
Yeah.
When we're talking to celebrities.
We've even experimented, unbeknownst to Randy, we've experimented on air with this theory, where when, Zach Parisi would come on,
Oh, especially Zach. That was a big one.
If Zach, back when we used to have Zach Parisi on the air, and by the way, I know Zach and Joe are tight. Zach and Joe Mauer, I should be more specific. Since we're
I'm surprised they're not rivals, just in the way that they're two local heartthrobs, But they'd go back, maybe they have a bit of a rivalry there.
You played some audio, I think, in our intro of Joe Mauer's. What's the terminology when he was standing on the field at Target Field,
inducted in the Twins Hall of Fame?
There you go. When he was inducted into the Twins Hall of Fame, I was at that game, and it was all these old baseball players, and then Zach, one NHLer sitting there because those guys are tight. But anyway, we used to notice that if Zach Parise came on the air, well, I guess I should start with this. If I would have said on air, boy, I got drunk last night and I sharted, right? Randy would go, that's terrible. Why would you even bring that up on the air? I don't even know why I do this radio show. If Zach Parise said the same thing, Randy would go, well, that's hilarious. Oh, my God. You know what, Zach? What are you going to do? It happens to the best of us. Oh, wow. Did you guys hear what Zach just said? He said he's hungover and he sharted. That was great. You should make that a promo.
Yeah, he is a different guy. He's a lot happier. It was the same when we used to have Matt Burke as our Viking. He was like that with Matt Burke anytime he was on.
Randy's going to be pumped. What else is going on around here? It's Friday. What are you guys doing?
Right this second?
This weekend.
Oh, this weekend? Well, I'll actually be seeing Randy Shaver tomorrow for his pickleball tournament tomorrow morning.
You're going to go ahead with that pickleball thing.
Yeah, I'll be there bright and early. Shakopee, drop shot pickleball. Dr. P going to be there. He's in the intermediate bracket, don't you know?
Big time.
He's going to go in there, and he wants to win that sucker.
Does he?
Yeah, he wants to win. So my kids are going to be there. I'm looking forward to watching them play. I'm really hoping that they dominate. My stepson's very talented. He's a good athlete.
Yeah, I can see that.
He's got a good shot. He kind of like the old timers, when we were playing against them, they just are like, okay, whatever, because he is so good, and he'll like dive for it, and he's not going to let anything go. He was a goalie growing up.
Wait a minute. I thought you said he was a good athlete.
That took a second. He is a good athlete.
That's where we used to put the guy who couldn't skate. We made him goalie.
Josh, I hope you come back on Monday with the story of Dr. P just having like an old school John McEnroe meltdown on the court.
He does take it seriously.
That's what I've heard. So I'm hoping that it would be, especially because it's a charity event too. If he just lost his mind at a charity event.
Well, so does Randy though. I mean, Randy takes it. He's very competitive.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I am not competitive whatsoever. I want to have a good time. I don't really care how it turns out.
I want an injury. I said that already. That's what I want out of this tournament. Not from, just the average person who showed up to play. I want an injury out of you or Randy or Dr. P. I'm even okay if one of your stepkids get hurt. I'm even okay with that. I want an injury story. I'm not going to make it. I know we were talking on and on about how I was going to partner. I'm not able to make it tomorrow. And I would even be happy if I showed up and got hurt. Trust me, this isn't meant to be mean. But I want an injury story coming out of this. Hamstrings, quads. What else we got down here? Ankles.
Lord, yeah.
Achilles.
We got calves.
Kirk Cousins type the room. Achilles Cousins.
That's the popular thing right now is to tear your Achilles.
So
I want
right
an injury story. Don't hurt yourself on purpose. This is a very special day for us on the Half Fast Morning Show. Very special. Joining us in studio are a couple of guys who Minnesotans are very familiar with. And they've come on in today to tell us about something cool and meaningful that they've collaborated on. From KSTP Television, he's been on the air here for, by damn 40 years, nearly 40 years. Joe Schmidt is here. Hello, Joe.
Hello, guys. It's great to be here. I'll be the other half-ass on the show today.
It's nice to finally meet a respected local sports broadcaster.
Well, knowledgeable.
Let's just put it this way. One of these respectable sportscasters came into the studio today. The other guy's in his pajamas at home.
Well, I'm looking at you, so I think I know what you're saying.
Right next to Joe Schmidt here in studio, right next to Joe Schmidt, from right here in town, of course, one of the best the big leagues I've ever seen. Joe Mauer is in studio as well. Thank both of you gentlemen. Thank you for coming in and joining us. Hello, Joe Mauer.
How we doing? Thanks for having us.
Well, absolutely. This is an absolute thrill. I think we've probably waved at you from a distance at a couple of Randy's golf tournaments and whatnot, but I've never met you in person, so this is great. And the reason you boys are in here is is also really interesting and cool, and I can't wait to get to that. But first off, we had to take some time to bust chops, Randy Shaver's chops specifically. Finally, we get Joe Schmidt on this radio show. Josh and I have told the story many times. 25, 6, 7 years ago, when we started this radio program, and some boss told us, well, how about we get a sports personality, a television personality, to come on and talk sports with you guys? Joe Schmidt was our first choice.
He was.
And the truth of the matter is, I wanted to do it, but the management at Hubbard didn't really think, they didn't trust you guys.
What's not to trust?
Well,
It seems as though they made the right call.
Well, it was interesting because the first time I listened to you guys, you were talking about male anatomy, and I thought, I guess I understand why they don't trust you guys.
What's really funny about it is, I don't know who called who to find out if you were available, Joe Schmidt, and our bosses got back to us and said, well, Joe Schmidt said no. And we asked, did he give any reason? And they said no.
Well, now you know the truth.
Now we know. So, and Randy Shaver has been with us for years and years and years since then. But, yeah, you were our first choice, Joe Schmidt, and we like to tell Randy that as often as possible.
You just made my day. That's all I can say.
Yeah. And now, Randy Shaver, these are old bros to you, right? I mean, you've known Joe Schmidt and Joe Mauer for many years.
I've known, Joe Schmidt, I think, longer, obviously.
Well, of course,
worked in this market together for a long time. And I think the first time I interviewed Joe Mauer was probably, he was a junior in high school, probably, or a senior in high school.
Do you have any memories of that, Joe Mauer?
I do. He had these little glasses. He looked. I think I made the comment to him, "You look like a stockbroker or something." Because
a lot of people told me I was Harry Potter before Harry Potter. At least that picture. So absolutely. But yeah, we go back a long ways. And Randy, to come to your defense, I think the guys here had two great options in Joe Schmidt and Randy Shaver to come on the radio show. So
we feel very lucky.
Yes, sure. Absolutely.
We absolutely do. We absolutely do. We don't tell each other nice things like that very often, Joe Mauer. But
I just thought I'd slide that in.
No. I will say, and I said this to Joe when I interviewed him back in the spring for all of this, because his numbers were never going to change over the course of time, and so I got that interview with him out of the way a long time ago about the Hall of Fame possibilities. But he's also the best high school quarterback I've ever seen in Minnesota in my 40 years of covering high school football, and. I did an all Prep Sports Extra team of mine this last fall, and I named one quarterback, and it was Joe. He just was a tremendous, tremendous football player. He, very respected, not only by his teammates, but by the opposing coaches and players, and very much deserved that honor. We all know his accolades as a baseball player, but he was a three-sport athlete that I don't know if Minnesota has seen one since, maybe Suggs from SMB, but very few like Joe.
Randy does mention that a lot, Joe Mauer.
Yeah.
He does. I think I watched you play once in high school. I think it was at the old Metrodome in the high school playoffs. I think you beat Wayzata, my alma mater.
Yeah.
If that rings a bell to you. And now Brad Ryder, did you and Joe, you and Joe familiar with each other?
Oh, I know both of these guys, too. I've known Joe Schmidt since probably 1992 when I started in PR at the University of Minnesota. Joe and I have always had a really good relationship. And then...
Wait, real quick, Joe, do you feel the same way, or is that more one-sided?
Right, he has some pictures of me, so yes, thank you.
I have several.
You know what? And he passed those pictures on to me. So.
Right? Yeah, exactly. No.
And then, Brad, you and Joe Mauer worked for the Twins around the same time period, right?
Crossed over a couple of years. I was with the Twins from 2000 until 2006. And so when Joe got drafted, I remember Joe being at Cretin on the day of the press conference with Terry Ryan and you, and met you for the first time there. And then obviously you spent just a couple of years in the minors, not too many, and you came up, I think, for 2 years while I was there, and then I left. But I was there the first 2 years you were there. And then you started winning batting championships and going to the All-Star game after I left.
No correlation at all.
So, right. But we reconnected a little bit a few years ago when I was with the Wolves, and I had you out to a couple Wolves games, and so we've talked a little bit since then.
Well, there you go. I knew Randy Shaver's connection connection, but I wanted to make sure that, Brad, I thought there was something there too. Okay, very nice of you guys to come in, of course, like I mentioned. And the reason you guys swung by is to talk about this book that you, Joe Schmidt, put together with a collaboration with Joe Mauer. And thank you for the copy. The boys came in and handed us a copy. I only looked a few pages into it. It's a children's book called The Right Thing to Do, the Joe Mauer story. I only got a few pages into it, and I already love it. Tell us the background behind this, both of you gentlemen.
Well, I guess I'll start on this one, Joe. I wrote a book 9 years ago called Silent Impact, and I included the story about Joe walking a young student, a blind student who normally sat alone at lunch, and invited him to sit down at his table at Cretin-Derham Hall. And I tell that story when I speak all over the country with my speaking business. Well, long story short, that's always been one of these great stories that people like. My publisher of Wise Inc., Amy Quayle, called me up and said, Joe, you have to write another book. And I said, I don't want to write another book. She said, write a children's book. Long story short, we decided that the Joe Mauer story needed to be told to a younger generation. I called Joe, and we had breakfast with Joe and Maddie, and we laid out a really good plan that 100% of the proceeds would go to charity, and that we'd also encourage people to donate money that we could get books in schools throughout Minnesota. And we have 500 elementary schools lined up to get these books in their library for free. So it's become a really win-win-win project for all of us. And on top of it, the book is beautiful. And it's a really great story about values and compassion and caring and stuff that I think kids need nowadays.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I think I heard you say, Joe Schmidt, you said this is not a sports story, it's an impact story.
Yes, it is, because it's just Joe taking the time to walk Mike Hawley down to the lunchroom every day, invite him to sit down at his table. They then found out that Mike was this huge sports nut. And I talked to Mike a couple of weeks ago, and he's whipping off Joe's stats and talking about Joe's chances in the Hall of Fame. He's a sports guru. But the name of the book, I do want to mention the name of the book. So I interviewed Joe after I found out this story, because I just thought, you know what, this is perfect what I talk about, how we can make an impact with the little things we do. And I said to Joe, Joe, why did you do it? You know, you're a high school kid, the coolest kid on campus. You could have walked around, and had people carrying your books or whatever you wanted. And Joe said, because it was the right thing to do. So the name of the book is The Right Thing to Do.
That was an emotional piece that you did. We all watched the video yesterday, and that's, good luck not tearing up when you watch something like that.
Yeah, we decided to do the reunion, and a charity called Thumbs Up for Mental Health started because of this story. A woman was motivated, Katie Shatusky was motivated to start a charity because she thought she could do something. If Joe could be this kind, she could do something too. And anyway, Katie called me and said, why don't you get Joe and Mike together? I said, I've been thinking about it for 2 or 3 years, but I don't want to bother Joe, and it's going to be really hard to make this happen. Well, when she begged me, I did it, and we did this beautiful little story. And that story is now being shown to kids in high schools all over the state and, maybe someday all over the country.
That's pretty cool, pretty special.
Cool. Yep.
You can pre-order copies of the book at joemauerbook.com. As you mentioned, Joe Schmidt already. People can pay at joemauerbook.com. You can also pay for a book that will be donated to a kid or to local schools. So did you have any hesitation at all, Joe Mauer, when this was brought up to you?
Yes,
I
did actually. Just for the reason I know Joe went around and spoke of the story in the past years, but I immediately thought, Mike's a buddy of mine, and it was something that I felt that I didn't feel like it was a story to tell until Joe kind of convinced me and realized that the good that could come out of it. But first, I wanted to make sure Mike was okay with it.
Sure.
And then obviously with Joe okay with it, and then obviously 100% of the proceeds going to Thumbs Up, as Joe just mentioned, and the Highland Friendship Club. But it's a very, true to my heart too. It was a pretty easy sell after that. So, I hope it gets out there and gets in the hands of families and sparks conversation and spreads some good around the cities and hopefully a little further.
Sure, absolutely.
The illustrations are great.
Yeah, Kevin Cannon is the illustrator, and I got just a quick story about Kevin. Kevin is he has a lineup of a year and a half in front of him to illustrate children's books. He's from Minnesota, one of the best illustrators in the country. And when he heard about this project, he put us in the front.
Oh, wow.
And so that was cool. So I will tell you, when you get your hands on this book, it's high quality. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. I am so happy with it. And I'm also just happy because the story will get out.
Yeah. Absolutely. Speaking of what term should I use? The cartoonist, the illustrator? You just used it. I'm sorry.
Illustrator, I think.
I love this from what I read about the illustrator, Mr. Cannon. He had, Joe Mauer might be embarrassed by this, but he had trouble caricaturing Joe Mauer because he's so classically handsome.
That was a good line.
That's in print, right?
Yeah. He did print that.
I can use that later.
Here's the direct quote. Joe Mauer is so classically handsome, he's tough to caricature.
Oh, boy.
You know what? I talked to Kevin, and he didn't have the same problem with Shaver.
Easiest drawing he's ever made.
I mean, just paging through the book is great. The cartoons, the illustrations are great. The story is a lot of fun.
Can I ask, Joe, how do you feel about Joe Mauer? How do you feel about the story with your dad too? Because this month it would be a year now that your dad has passed, and I wonder how special it is that story is also included in this book.
Yeah, definitely. It was yesterday or 2 days ago. I'm sorry, was a year, and it's something that I'm proud of. Obviously, a lot of the lessons that are trying to be relayed in this book are directly from him, and my mom, and to pass that along to kids out there and my own kids, it's something that I'm proud of, and to partner with Joe, the opportunity to do this and get the story out there, it's. It means a lot. So I'm excited. This is different territory for me. This is old news for Joe. This is your third book?
Third book.
Third book. So.
And I'm going to read another one real soon.
Yeah.
Children's?
Yeah. So I'm glad to partner with Joe here and my first go at this, and this is the first time I've had it in hand. I saw the renderings, and
beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is.
Awesome.
It really is. They did a really nice job, and
Randy couldn't do this.
The folks that put everything into it. So
you guys can always change your mind, Josh.
Joe Mauer, did we have a fan in our parking lot waiting for you this morning?
We did, yeah. Up and early.
That's
I guess so.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. But it was had a couple pictures there, and but yeah, that was pretty cool to see.
That's
so,
awesome.
Joe Mauer, we can get texts here from listeners, which has been a great addition to the show. And when Randy was talking about your skills at quarterback, they wanted to know, with the way the Viking season went this year, did Kevin O'Connell put you on the depth chart? Did you get a phone call?
I had obviously being from here and. Buddies, high school buddies, were shooting some texts of that nature, but no, didn't get the call from Kevin O'Connell. But
but it was close.
But no, it was.
You might be younger than Joe Flacco.
Yeah, maybe.
You guys might not remember. I know Randy probably does, but Joe had committed in football to go play for Bobby Bowden at Florida State, correct?
Right. Yep. Yeah.
And
actually, last night we had a couple of the boys from the championship team in '99 get together for happy hour with Coach Kallick, and it was a lot of fun to see those guys. And just last night, reminiscing about all the old football stories. But so it was fun to do that, and can't believe how long ago it was. I won't say the number, but it was some time ago. But we all came to the conclusion last night at the around the table that we could still go out there and do it. So
we were just talking about how funny it was when the Twins had the Joe Mauer sideburn nights, those types of games. What did you think of that when they came to you with those ideas?
That kind of took a whole life of itself. But we had some fun with it. The marketing department did a great job. I feel like. Throughout my career, but especially the early days that I was there. But fans, they liked it, so we just kind of rolled with it.
I was actually wondering, Brad, if you were around during that time, you're such a clever guy. It kind of seemed like something you'd come up with. Did you have any of those ideas?
Take credit for it, Brad.
Sure, I'll take credit for that, even though I was long gone.
Oh, were you long gone at that point?
I think so, yeah.
The Half-Assed Morning Show Backtracks. Did you know that Standard Heating opened its doors over 90 years ago? That's right. Tony Ferreira opened the doors in 1930, now ran by his granddaughter Claire Ferreira. Call Standard Heating and Air Conditioning today and experience the customer service and care that holds true today.
It is savings on a stick season with Standard Heating and Air Conditioning's State Fair specials. Deals on deals on deals that can save you thousands. Visit standardheating.com for all their State Fair deals. Standard Heating, providing the comfort you deserve since 1930.
Former Navy SEAL Sean Ryan shares real stories from real people from all walks of life on The Sean Ryan Show.
Tucker Carlson, what is it that you think that people gravitate
I'm not
towards?
self-aware. I refuse to be self-aware. I don't even look in mirrors at all, which you can probably tell from my appearance. I don't have a crazy high IQ, or I really don't have that many skills. I would say my main skill is I believe my instincts. I don't hesitate to follow my instincts, ever. To the extent that I have, I've gotten in trouble.
The Sean Ryan Show on YouTube or wherever you listen.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show, Backtracks Edition.
93X Half-Assed Morning Show with Janelle Klein in studio. Janelle.
Nick.
Wonderful, wonderful Janelle. It's nice to have you back in town.
You cheer us up when Wapple just played one of the most depressing songs of all time.
I missed it.
Is that a sad-ass song? I've never really listened to the words of that song.
The only time I ever hear it is when something not great is. We lost somebody or somebody's moving on.
Look, I hope you had a good time. Isn't that basically the vibe of the song?
We had the time of our lives.
I hope you had a good time. It's not my problem if you didn't, but I hope you had a good time. So tomorrow is Valentine's Day. For some, by God, it's the biggest damn deal. You better say and do the right. It's Valentine's Day, and you didn't do anything. Some people, big deal. Others, who cares?
Did you guys have a rose deal at your school where you could buy a rose and have it delivered to someone?
No, we had candy grams.
Yep, that's what we had too, Wapple.
Yeah,
similar vibe.
Too cheap for roses.
Yeah, you'd get a candy heart package, and then they would deliver it to whoever you bought it for.
We didn't have the candy grams. They sold roses. That's what it was.
You're talking high school days?
Yeah, high school, and then there were different colors, which might mean something different. You know, like the red, obviously, you love. The pink was, hey, you interested? Maybe let's go out. And the white was, what's up, bro?
We had, what we had was something I'm sure you can't get away with anymore. Kissograms, where, like, if I had a crush on you, Cubby, I'd sign you up. I'd sign you up for a kissogram, right? And then a gaggle of gals would come to your classroom with layers and layers of lipstick on, and they'd all give you a kiss.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
So then the gimmick was, by the third or fourth hour in school, some people were absolutely covered in lipstick from all the kissograms that they received.
I would have none.
You're just putting some on yourself in the vacuum stall?
It does sound like a good way to get mono, though.
That's what I'm saying. Or worse. I was part of the gaggle of dudes that would go class to class and kiss girls who received a kissogram from somebody, and I liked it.
Did you ever make one up? Hey, hot lady, you got a kissogram.
I guess
I got to kiss you.
I never thought.
Delivery driver Shiza said at her school they had roses or carnations you could choose from.
So here's the deal. Valentine's Day is tomorrow. Like I said, the pressure is on. Other couples, they don't give a rat's ass. Some hate Valentine's Day. Hate it.
That's true.
Those people kind of bum me out a little.
Well, I mean, I can understand why. Some of them are the types who are longing. It's not a word I often use on the radio. Longing for a one-on-one committed relationship, and they just haven't found it yet. So Valentine's Day is frustrating, upsetting, maybe even pisses them off a little bit, watching everybody all around town holding hands and doing fun dinners and things like that. They get angry. Some maybe think back to a bad breakup, heartbreaking memories of love gone wrong.
Yeah, I was always broken up with around Valentine's Day.
Oh, so they could avoid getting you something?
No, I don't think so.
They didn't want to be seen with them at dinner.
Yeah, I don't think they probably just didn't want to go out on a Valentine's date.
I'm not trying to rip you, but I thought you said you didn't really have girlfriends.
No, the two I did.
Oh, okay.
Oh, my gosh,
Oh, since
yeah.
you're an adult, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh.
I probably wouldn't like it either if 2 out of 3 of my relationships, it was around Valentine's Day. And I would be like, dang.
It's one thing to be seen with Wapple, in June.
Yeah, exactly.
Out in public. You get seen with him on Valentine's Day. People are like, oh, for Christ's sake, are you kidding me?
So are you getting a little nervous,
Is that a
Wapple?
Make-A-Wish thing going on?
Oh!
What it do, Jesus said, Valentine's Day or not, my fiance's still getting 20 seconds. Take it or leave it. That's it. That's all you get.
Wapple, for the record, nobody should ever break up with you.
Oh, thanks, Janelle.
Yep, you're very sweet, Janelle.
Yeah. Well, Wapple is he's too good for the rest of us. It was their loss, Wapple.
Will you take it easy?
You're right. Geniuses aren't often recognized in their time. People often find geniuses at their time weird or unattractive.
Right.
Muppet-like, that
Right.
kind of thing. Do you know Dana got engaged, speaking of love?
No.
I did indeed, Janelle.
What?
Over the weekend.
Sorry,
Dana?
sorry to break your heart, Janelle.
Wow, dang it.
Dana, there's some pools going on in the building on how long this will last, or even if you get married.
Yeah, we got a lot of great texts. I want to thank all the brother and sisterhood for reaching out yesterday. I think my favorite one, though, was somebody, and I wish I could remember the name. They said, hey, Dana, this time around, make sure she gets the boob job before you get divorced.
Oh, yes. You'll have to explain that for folks who haven't heard that story.
So the story goes, I was married once, and I think with Josh, what you would classify as about 6 minutes after the divorce was finalized, my ex-wife went out and got a boob job.
Yeah, definitely the sun had not risen on the next day.
She made those appointments pretty fast.
Yeah.
Post-marital bolt-ons.
Mm-hmm.
I like Janelle's reaction, by the way. Hey, did you know Dana got engaged? No.
He wasn't even going to tell us. He announced it on social media, but said nothing to us.
Oh.
Nothing.
He's an odd dude.
I was going to bring it up on Friday, but there was a little thing going on, a little celebration afterwards. Didn't kind of quite feel right making it about myself after the 25th anniversary show of the Half-Assed Morning.
Why, we would have. Yeah, we would have.
By the way.
Yeah, Dana's all engaged now.
Well, congrats, Dana.
Well, thank
I'm
you very
happy
much.
for you.
And so far, the consensus is under a year if it even happens in the first place.
I got to be honest with you. That would be a lot of fun. That would be a lot of fun.
I mean, it would be kind of keeping tradition with this show.
That's true. That is true.
My first one not lasting, Nick's, Ashley's first one not lasting.
Piano Mover Jesus has texted the program, and he says he and his old lady have a long-standing tradition of going to Taco John's for dinner on Valentine's Day.
That's great. We do Chipotle. My wife and I's first date, yes, I'm classy, took her to Chipotle.
That's a good move, dude.
And so, yeah, that's kind of our thing now.
I think Papa Murphy's makes a heart-shaped pizza.
Hell yeah, they do. That's my favorite pizza.
A couple different pizza places do.
I love Papa Murphy's.
Yeah, and then they do a little jack-o'-lantern for Halloween.
They sure do. Hey, you're not telling me something I don't already know, homie. Yeah, we did that for. We got some pizza for the Super Bowl. Love it. They do a good
did
job.
they make it into a football?
Oh, for Christ's sake!
They did not.
Jesus,
Missed opportunity.
Sit here and talk about. We're going to talk about pizza shapes for the rest of the.
Hell yeah!
So back to bad breakups. Anyone?
Luckily, no.
I had one. Anyone else? Bad
I
breakup.
don't think any of mine have been fantastic.
No.
I guess maybe the ones in middle school that didn't really count.
Well, that doesn't.
But no, every serious relationship I've been in, it usually ends in a complete train wreck, dumpster fire.
That's not good.
Block everybody on Facebook, block the family, throw everything away, just completely wipe them out.
I've been very lucky. I have not had one. And I would not feel odd running into any ex-girlfriend or anything. I hope they feel the same. I guess I don't know. I hope they wouldn't categorize any breakup as a bad one.
You ever have a bad one, Janelle?
Never. I am Josh. We are twins.
Yes.
Oftentimes it does seem that way.
Yes.
Some folks have been talking about their bad breakups. Well, some of them are, I guess I shouldn't say so, bad. Certainly not great. Some of them came off kind of funny. Some of them are really ridiculous because it goes way back to school days. Like Ashley was talking about her junior high boyfriends and whatnot. Some of these go way back to school days. Funny / sad, maybe possibly you'd say bad ways people have been dumped. Bad breakup. Middle school. His friend walked up to me and said, Your boyfriend wants to break up with you because he thinks your braces make you ugly.
I don't think he had to throw that in there.
God, kids are so awful.
Wow.
Well, no, it's just because you're ugly. That's all.
What'd you have to go and get braces for?
I bet that doesn't still stick with her.
Well, she says I was devastated at the time, but now it's hilarious.
Oh, okay.
I mean, come on, that's funny.
And
That's-
also, she has beautiful teeth. So screw him.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude won't walk up on his own and break up with her. He sends his friend over.
That was the move back in the day.
That happened to me.
Well, certainly in grade school. I'm surprised that this came from middle school. By that point, we had balls enough to do our breaking up and asking out on our own.
Dude dumped on a voicemail in middle school.
In middle school?
Yeah.
On a voicemail?
Yeah. I wish I still had it.
Back in our day, it was fax. People would have to fax us.
Just a broken heart.
Dude's friend walks up and breaks up for him and says he thinks your braces make you look ugly.
That is so terrible.
All right, let's see. What else do I have here? Young kid stuff. I got another young kid one. This one's just cold as ice. A lady says, my husband left me one week right after our 25th anniversary. Left me for another woman. Left me by text.
Oh.
25 years. And he sent a text. His reason for dumping her. He said he deserved to be able to have romantic walks on the beach. Here's something you should know. The lady closes out with this. Here's something you should know. I am in a wheelchair.
Oh, that is so brutal.
No.
What?
No.
What? Dude.
Boy, sometimes I'll ask my wife, I'll beg her to make phone calls I don't want to make. Like, just silly stuff like, do you mind just setting up a doctor's appointment for me or something? So if I was ever going to break up to her or with her on the phone, I'd have to ask her to make the call. I don't have the courage to do it myself.
I had a buddy. I always thought this was brutal. He was dating this girl for like 8 years, and he said when they broke up, she said that she was going to, like, the original plan, because they lived together, was going to be to leave him a letter. So who does that? And also
The Dear John letter.
They're like 25, 26 years old. Like how pathetic.
So what's appropriate for you? Would a text be appropriate? I know you like to communicate primarily through text. That's fair to say, right?
Yeah. No, I'd say it has to be face to face.
So not even over the phone.
Yeah.
You face to face.
But then again, it depends how long it's been, if it's actually like super serious or not.
Now here's some kid stuff here, and this is hilarious. 12 or 13 years old. Young gal was dating a guy in the neighborhood. One summer afternoon, he rode his bike by my house with a different girl from the neighborhood riding on his bike pegs, and he yelled, "Yeah, she's my girlfriend now."
Ching, 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 ching.
That gets cool.
He didn't stop. He just rode by. He's got his new piece standing on the pegs. That's my girlfriend now.
Yeah, like he's passing by in his Corvette convertible or something.
You prick. That's good stuff.
I just remember I had a buddy in college he found out that his girlfriend was breaking up with him because she updated her Facebook status to say single.
Yeah, it's weird. You've heard that before, right? Didn't that happen to you, Wapple? I thought there was something. Didn't you have a girlfriend do the same to you?
Can you explain that one more time?
So on Facebook, you can put, I'm in a relationship with, blah, 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 add that person. And then he went and checked Facebook and it said, Sally Sue has updated her Facebook relationship status to single. And he goes,
single.
Oh, I guess that's that then.
That hurts.
Okay, Wapple, did that happen to you?
No, it was even worse. She went on Snapchat and made a Facebook story saying she was taking new applications for a new boyfriend.
You should have filled one out, Wapple.
I filled one out.
And it was when we were going to a wrestling show that night.
Yeah, were you guys out to dinner?
We were out on a
And you took her to a place that none of us could afford, right? Wasn't it a fancy place? I thought you said
no,
it was.
No, it was the Depot.
Okay, for some reason I thought it was fancy. But yeah, that's pretty cold-blooded.
Mm-hmm.
I got a funny breakup story. When my folks divorced in 1984, 3, whatever it was. And then, of course, they got remarried in 98, 99. But when they originally divorced in 84, one of my mom's brothers hadn't heard about it yet. The word hadn't passed yet that my folks had split up. And my uncle calls my dad to ask him to be the godfather of his new baby. I think that's how it played out. So my uncle calls my dad. My mom's sister calls my dad. My mom's brother, calls my dad and says, hey, got a new baby and I want you to be the godfather. And my dad said, there's some news I should pass on your way that might change your mind. My uncle said, I didn't know. We've been talking about breakups, getting dumped flat on your ass. Or maybe you dumped somebody flat on their ass. And maybe they had it coming, but maybe they didn't, and you're just cold-blooded like that. Getting dumped.
What do you think of this text? This person dated a girl steady in high school, but then it was on and off again after high school.
Sure.
He ended up staying with, that's it, we're done. Got a new girlfriend, dated for 3 years, then they got engaged. Then all of a sudden she got a text from the high school girlfriend asking if it was really over between them.
Oh, no.
3 years later.
Let it go, honey, let it go.
Oh, I can top that. I can. But it's kind of frightening. The story really is. It's kind of frightening. I know a dude who been divorced for 25 years, 20 years, something like that. Called his ex-wife on the telephone. She answers. Hello? And he says, yeah, we gotta work this out. We gotta do something. We gotta work out our problems. And she says, who is this? It was her husband from 20 years ago.
That's not right.
We gotta talk. We gotta try to work this out.
I'd be scared. I'd be trying to figure out how to get a restraining order.
Janelle, you've done the breaking up, haven't you? Because what guy would have the balls to throw you out?
Nobody.
True.
You've done the breaking up.
I don't know if I call it that. I think it's just more like you both know it's just not gonna.
Yeah.
It's not gonna last.
That's how it might have been. Just kind of, we both knew. Nobody was surprised.
There's no hard
fizzled
feelings.
out.
It's just like we can. Yeah.
Should we, just for a joke, should we call my ex-wife?
Whatever happened between us?
We won't tell her that we're on the radio, and I'll just say, hey, what's up? What's going on between us, you know?
What if she was like down though?
Yeah.
She's like, I've missed you too. I've thought about you every day for the last 20 years.
That would backfire, wouldn't it?
Some people feel like they have the one that got away, and so that's where this stuff happens, I think. Like, no matter what the other person is doing, they think there's always a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose that would suck if you really felt that way.
Yeah.
Crazy people. All right, here are some text messages that came in. I knew the brother and sister would have some good, quick stories on getting dumped or dumping somebody, bad breakup. One of our lady listeners says, one guy broke up with me before we were on our way to a comedy show. They had a date at the comedy show. Guy breaks up with her, but he still wanted to go to the show. And he was wondering why I was crying the entire time.
Oh my God.
You still agreed to go see a comedy show?
Yeah, I probably would have passed on
when the guy
Why would he do that on the way?
Yeah, it's weird.
I'm going to guess this guy was 17 years old or something. You know what I mean? He just doesn't even understand the impact of what he's doing.
Yeah. This person says, I was 22. My girlfriend of 3 years broke up with me on my birthday and wrote it on my birthday card. WTF.
Yay! Happy birthday!
No.
I'm leaving.
Oh.
Happy birthday to the guy who had a girlfriend up until a few minutes ago. Happy birthday to the guy who had a girlfriend up until a few minutes ago. Here's a listener. Broken-hearted pimp slap Jesus. He had a girlfriend, but she left him for one of his friends. And then they moved to Mexico.
Oof.
And that's the end of the story.
Double D, she's just dated inside the friend group and got engaged. So now she gets to see the ex-fiance at all their friends' occasions. Him, my boyfriend, and I are cordial, but the ex-fiance, the wife of the ex-fiance calls her the one that shall not be named. Apparently they're not fans of each other. I've known people like that where we're never going to use that name again.
Yeah, I can be like that.
Yes, you are the one that would play that type of game.
But the words I use to substitute aren't that friendly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Navy Police Jesus said a few years ago he had to break up with a girl because when he got back from being overseas for 14 months, she was 8 months pregnant.
Oh man. It's like a Lifetime movie.
My God.
That's treason.
Agreed.
You can't do that.
Did you hear what happened to super fat 7XL Jesus? Anyone hear this yet?
No.
All right. Janelle, are you cleaning the floor of the studio? What are you doing?
Looking for something.
That's
I
like
dropped something.
2 or 3 times I look over and Janelle's milling around on the floor.
She lost a contact or something.
Did you drop? Are you all right?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
And get Wapple to get down on his. Wapple will do
crawl
little
around.
dirty chores for you if you ask him to. Super fat 7XL Jesus. Okay, he had a girlfriend. By God, he did. Until her husband called him to tell him that the two of them wouldn't be seeing each other anymore.
Oh man.
Wow.
What a
Absolutely,
crappy
sir.
situation.
She had a husband all the while, or she upped and got married maybe suddenly to another man, but either way, the guy calls him on the, is this super fat 7XL Jesus? By damn it is. You will not be seeing my wife anymore. You're what? Who is this?
This person tells me his son's mother left him and married his brother.
Son, I can see. I got to do that in my head. Son's brother. You got to do it again.
So, the woman he has a son with married his brother.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, I know a family who did that. A gal I was dating. One of her uncles was married to this gal, and they divorced, and she moved on and married his brother, being my girlfriend at the time's other uncle. Did you follow that? Those are so tough to follow.
Christmas would be so awkward.
A friend of mine.
But you know what, Wapple? I was around them when she was with the first uncle and the second uncle, and it seemed like they were all fairly cool with the whole setup.
All right.
Yeah, I had a buddy who's very similar. It was his aunt and uncle got divorced. His other aunt and uncle got divorced, and then they hooked up with each other's spouses. And
My
it was
best friend's girlfriend.
And he said it was super cordial. Rectal Larson Jesus was in a polyamorous relationship, but his ex never told him during that time.
Oh, no. All right, I got one more from the brother and sisterhood. I guess it's not going to shock anybody now. We've just been talking about these types of things. Someone broke up with their significant other, and then that significant other started dating his mom. Man.
People have been hurt.
I actually wasn't done yet. What else do I have here? Guy brings his college girlfriend over to the house because he wants to show her his favorite movie, Fight Club. Never saw it!
Oh, it's great.
So dude brings his girlfriend over to watch Fight Club. She hated it, and he was so upset because this was his favorite movie that he dumped her.
If I had to do that, some of my favorite movies, I would die alone.
What did she say here? I didn't get it, the movie. He got so angry he dumped me. He dumped me over a stupid Brad Pitt movie.
Yeah, that's a level of fandom that's a tad concerning.
Yeah.
Here's another breakup. I'm sorry. I made it seem like I was all done, but I had a couple more. Picture this. You're at the ball game. Here comes the kiss cam. You look up at the Jumbotron, and your significant other is kissing somebody else.
Oh, God.
That sucks.
That is one of my favorite memories around here, where we had a salesperson who, started working here the previous week, takes a sick day, goes to a Twins game and posts all kinds of pictures on social media, and she's connected with her bosses and coworkers.
Oh,
Like,
my
look how
God.
much fun I'm having. Yeah,
That was incredible.
That was so good. And I saw some of the photos, and she did look like she was having a blast.
Yeah, I hope it was worth it.
She calls the boss. Oh, God, I'm so sick.
No way,
I can't cover.
Can't even get out of bed.
3 hours later, she's got a tall beer in her hand.
Did she get fired?
Well, she was. I guess I can't say for sure that she got fired. I had heard that's the case,
Yeah.
but she didn't last very long.
Okay.
So I don't know if that was her that just decided. Like, I think if it was me, and I realized, oh my God, I'm Facebook friends with my boss. I just wouldn't come back.
Right,
I just
yeah.
send him a text. Sorry.
Some people, I
wasn't made for this.
Awesome.
That was good.
And it's fun to be around people like that.
The Half-Assed Morning Show backtracks.
Did you know that Standard Heating opened its doors over 90 years ago? That's right. Tony Ferreira opened the doors in 1930, now ran by his granddaughter Claire Ferreira. Call Standard Heating and Air Conditioning today and experience the customer service and care that holds true today.
It is savings on a stick season with Standard Heating and Air Conditioning's State Fair specials. Deals on deals on deals that can save you thousands. Visit standardheating.com for all their State Fair deals. Standard Heating, providing the comfort you deserve since 1930.
When you have sports mixed with your pop culture, along with humor and celebrity interviews, your earbuds are enjoying The Rich Eisen Show.
Good to see you, Bruce Feldman, the Big 12 landscape. I just know how Dion is, where he's coming from. His wins are measured differently. The question is, as you said, it's got to go from 4 to 8.
I think they can do that. It would be hard not to get better considering how bad they were on the offensive line last year. Now, their schedule actually feels harder this year than it was last year.
Search for The Rich Eisen Show on YouTube or wherever you listen.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show Backtracks Edition.
Earlier this morning, we were jaw-jacking about bizarre, creepy, maybe even criminal ex-coworkers. We've had some low-life dullards come and go from this building over the years, no question about it. I had mixed emotions about it earlier. I was saying, yeah, it was nice to see a lot of them leave, but it was kind of fun to have unhinged, self-absorbed lunatics in the building. It was kind of fun. And I'm sure we'll gain some more as time goes by here. But we asked our listeners to text us about that one coworker, and you're still free to do that. Text us about that one coworker that you still talk about today. Our number is 651-989-9393. I would love to be able to pinpoint it to one. It's very difficult to do, and sorry if it's difficult for you too and our listening audience to pinpoint just one. If you have the time, maybe you can try to tell us about more than one. But all we're asking, tell us about that one coworker that you still talk about. We did have some texts come in. I'm imagining a few came your way, Josh.
Yeah.
About that one coworker. Feel free to tell us all about it.
This first one's from Micro Penis Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
He said, back in the day, he worked for a credit union. The director of HR got so hammered and out of control at the Christmas party, she was suspended. And the CEO and execs decided they had to figure out what to do about it, since normally she'd be the person involved in the conversation on how to deal with it. He said it was great watching them trying to figure this out.
They had to just improvise.
Imagine if they just like, hey, you're the expert here. You know, people make mistakes. I'm going to let myself off the hook on this one. I've never seen one of our HR people go just off the rails at one of these things.
I don't even know who our HR people are.
Oh, you will.
Well, now they're corporate.
Yeah,
you'll see them soon enough.
Yeah,
they're always there when you get fired.
End of the year, I'll probably be talking to them.
Yeah, usually it's in December.
Yeah.
Oh, here we are. It's coming up on firing time. Yeah.
Well, back in the day, the in-office HR person here would get mad at me a lot because I would always have to go to them with all my computer problems. They were kind of, back in those days.
Well, he was the IT guy. Not an HR guy.
IT, HR, double Ds. I don't know what I'm talking about. Here's a listener whose boss at a local garbage company had his home raided and was indicted for racketeering.
Ooh.
That's a big story.
Yeah.
Said it was all over the news and whatnot. Racketeering. Can someone explain to me exactly what that involves?
Well, it's like some sort of organized crime.
Yeah.
It's a financial crime. I can't remember exactly how it works. I mean, that's as far as I can go.
That's enough
steal
for me.
money of somehow, right?
That's enough for me. Organized money scam of some sort. Okay.
They talked about in The Sopranos a lot.
I've never seen The Sopranos.
Never saw it.
Surprisingly enough, it seems like something.
Yeah, it seems like a show you would really. I know for a fact you would really enjoy it.
Does it involve gambling then? If you said they talked about it a lot. Or I'm not 100% sure on the details, other than I know it's like an organized crime financial deal.
Some type, yeah. So the definition is a set of illegal activities aimed at commercial profit that may be disguised as legitimate business deals. So you're kind of hiding money is basically what it is.
That's enough for me.
Okay.
That's enough for me. Now, we've had a lot of problems in this building over the years with thievery. Folks stealing everything from your lunch to a damn television and a video game console.
Sex doll.
Sex dolls.
Oh, yeah, we had a sex doll stuff.
That was maybe the most heartbreaking one of all. Was when
We just got her.
Yeah, Josh and I.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't bring it up.
No, I'm better with it now than I was a few years ago, but Josh and I spent a lot of money to create a real sex doll and order it over the internet. The doll had features that I enjoyed and features that Josh enjoyed. We were going to share it, and I think it was in the building for a day. Neither one of us had a chance to pump away on it, and it was stolen.
We didn't even get to flirt with her.
Mm-mm.
Nothing.
It's not right.
No courting, no nothing.
So here's a text message from Mouse in Cheese's Jesus. Had a kleptomaniac at work. Stole anything that wasn't nailed down. Everything from toilet paper to office computers. He was promoted 3 times.
Funny how that works out.
Driving for a living. Tough gig. We have a lot of professional drivers that listen to this program. A listener texted in and said that he drives for a living. There was a driver/dispatcher at his company who smoked meth and crack and was caught drinking in his work van.
That'll do it. Oh, you got a good story about a friend of yours who lied about his credentials while operating heavy machinery.
Oh, no. That's not something you want to lie about.
This is one of my oldest and greatest friends. It's Pistol Pete from across the street. You guys hear me talk about him a lot on this program.
Yep.
One of the ultimate characters. Love him to death. I miss him. He lives out of state. But he liked to run a lot of scams, Pistol Pete, once he grew up. A lot of scams. And one of his greatest was he wanted a high-paying job with no qualifications required. So he lied on a lot of resumes, and there was a company that fell for it. He told them he had a number of years' experience driving heavy machinery. He just wanted that paycheck for a brief amount of time. That was kind of how he did it. Tell some lies on a resume, get a job that pays pretty well. If it lasts a month, at least he got a check or two and he can move on to the next scam. But in this particular situation, and he thought he had it nailed, he got hired to drive heavy machinery, knowing, because he's a smart guy, you got to be smart to run some of these scams, knowing that they're not going to put him in the big back-end loader right away. They've got seasoned veterans who are going to handle that eventually. They'll move him into that position. But for now, he's just on the roadside with a broom kind of a thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's starting out as a grunt, but he's getting that paycheck, and eventually they're going to put him in that back-end loader, and he's going to move this. But it so happened that one day, one of the operators didn't show up. So then they said, okay, Pistol Pete, go ahead. Donnie's not showing up. He gets in the cab of this. Who knows how expensive, massive friggin' back-end loader, whatever the hell it was, front end, I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. Big bulldozer, some bitch. He gets in the cab. He has no idea what he's doing. No idea. But he figures he's cocky enough to say, well, I can probably figure it out on the fly. He pulls this lever. He pulls that lever. Ah! He rolled the sumbitch over into the ditch. He rolled it all the way over. He almost killed a dozen guys.
First and last day, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's when he got out and said, yeah, I don't have any idea.
Yeah, I lied to you guys.
The resume was, I'm going to go.
A lot tougher than I thought it was going to be. Mad respect to you guys. Australian Jesus said we had a coworker come in from a temp agency. When she said hello for the first time, she also asked if we had any expired prescription meds she could buy.
That's amazing.
She was fired within a week.
That's a good opener.
We had a guy in the building who, anytime anyone was sick, this is years ago when things were much shadier around here. Josh knows who I'm talking about. Anytime anyone was sick, he'd say, hey, if you don't end up, using all those meds, stop by my office and I'll take them. He liked to go home and mix meds with booze. He didn't care what it was, and then he'll
take it.
Turn on Pink Floyd, The Wall, or whatever, and have a riot. What were you saying, Smashley?
I always forget about the best coworker I ever had, and I don't know how I forget about this, but I worked at like a really nice, it was like some type of yacht club, boat club thing. So it was like rich people, and one of the cooks, I guess, like robbed a bank.
Sweet.
And so the SWAT team came to the club and was like, hey, you're under arrest.
That must have been incredible.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
And was it the type of person where you were surprised by it, or you figured, he's going to end up in some major trouble for something someday?
I was pretty shocked because he was a pretty like high up there type of cook. Like he definitely made a decent amount of money doing what he did. And
really?
Yeah. I was like, oh.
You know what? You should have really effed him up. You should have effed up, played with his emotions a little bit. Once they had him cuffed and they were walking out of the building, you should have said, I'll wait for you. He's like, wait a minute, the blonde Ashley?
I don't really even know.
Yeah.
Texas carpenter was doing a home remodel, and a coworker was caught by the homeowner doing a, quote, meat beat session in the bathroom. So they had to, apparently, they kick him out, and they had to go back in and awkwardly grab his tools after he grabbed his.
Yeah, he did.
You don't get fired for that around here, I've learned.
No, yeah, you've seen two.
Yeah, you go ahead.
So weird.
So our listeners have been texting in about that one coworker that they'll always remember. Many different reasons why you might remember this individual. It could be really creepy. It couldn't. I mean, not all of this stuff is destructive and disgusting. Well, I guess this would qualify as disgusting. One of our listeners says, I used to work with a guy where every time he took a dump, he sent me a picture of it from the bathroom.
We had a guy like that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Huh. Thankfully, I don't have that friend.
Another listener says, I worked with a guy who used to masturbate at work just to say he got paid to do it.
Yes, that's good logic.
I know some people poop at work for that reason. Same exact logic.
Get paid to poop?
Weird flex.
I probably was that one coworker for a lot of people during my 87-day stint in the car rental business. They're probably like, yeah, remember that guy? He'd show up still drunk from the night before every morning. He got sent home once for being too sweaty at work.
Too sweaty.
That's great.
Yeah. That happened because he had to wear a suit at the airport. So I was in the parking ramp, renting cars to people. And it was so hot that day that the boss just pulled me aside and said, hey, dude, just go home for the day. Like, I sweat not through the dress shirt, through the actual suit jacket as well.
That's pretty gross.
Is that the heat, or did you have the shakes from the night before?
No, it was just the heat. It was so humid that day. And then, you had that clipboard with a contract on it. Like, sweat is dripping on the contract. It was pretty disgusting.
Steelers fan Jesus says that he works with a few people that spend more effort avoiding doing their job than it would take just to actually do their job.
A carpenter texted in to say they had a guy on staff who showed up high on ecstasy and installed everything upside down. A lady texted in, a female listener texted in about the one coworker she'll always remember. Dude had a problem with staring at women in the office. Staring at boobs. Staring at butts.
Yikes.
She says, I get it. Boobs and butts are fun to look at.
Sure are.
You just got to shut that down at work.
Yeah, or at least hide it better. Jeez.
I worked at the Minnesota Zoo once, and I had a coworker who brought his other business to the zoo. He sold weed, and he would sell it to people that were frequenting the zoo, often teenagers.
We would never have that at the radio station.
Heck no.
Selling marijuana to young people at promotions. No, that would never happen.
Oh.
How about this from a listener? The I got so wasted over the weekend guy every Monday morning got really tired after a while.
Yeah, I could see that.
That was very common in the restaurant industry.
Oh, I bet.
He was, or she didn't say anything about the restaurant. Oh, you're going back to your
my
time.
Experience, yep.
This listener says he was 46 years old and still counting his beers and shots on Fridays and Saturdays.
The people that tally it on their arms.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen anyone tally it on their arm.
Yeah, that was big in college.
Mm-hmm.
I never hung out with the, they just keep a magic marker in their back pocket or what?
Yeah, good question. I don't know.
Like you said, not all these are scandalous. Some are just weird. Like this text says, I'm a groomer. We hired a girl who would raise her hand and ask if she could take a lunch break or use the restroom. Like she's in school.
What the hell?
Yeah, if you have to go to the bathroom, just go.
Very respectful.
Back to driving again. Because like I said, we've got a lot of drivers in our listening audience. This is very dramatic. I love this one. A listener tells me one of our drivers smashed a work van into his ex-wife's house because he saw her walking down the street with a man while on his delivery route.
Scandalous.
This was 8 years after they had split up.
Oh, no.
8 years had gone by.
That changed.
Angry bus driver Jesus said that at his cash transit job, they had a guy who was extremely sheltered by his parents, so he'd need reminders like to flush the toilet or don't forget to wash your hands after you go to the bathroom.
Grew up in some kind of a...
Parents had to do everything for you.
Odd.
Like a child.
Yeah, there's, as I'm reading further, the text from our listening audience. A lot of folks masturbate at work. In one situation, you could hear the buzzing of the vibrator and you could hear the moaning.
Oof.
God dang it. More masturbating at work.
Control yourself.
At least go to the car or something.
Somebody got so pissed at the photocopier, they pushed it down a set of stairs.
I would
like to see that.
happening,
Who wouldn't want to be part of that?
That would be a lot of fun.
Just to see the guy, just steam coming out of his ears. He's pushing the photocopier across the room. Where are you going with that? Just hang on.
That would be something to see.
Gets to the top of the stairs and just caca.
Poor life choices. Jesus once had a guy that was very Uncle Fester looking, very creepy. Turned out he killed his parents when he was a kid.
Oh! So, you probably don't have these details, but he killed his parents when he was a kid.
That's what it says, yeah.
He gets out, and now he's looking to have a career.
Yeah, it was like a work release.
Oh, how'd you find that out, too?
Oh, a work release deal.
Yeah, so you could show up at work and... Yeah, I'd like to hear more about that.
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, I kind of do, and I'm kind of terrified.
That would scare the hell out of me.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, my God. This is Roger. Nice to meet you. Where'd you grow up? You know, Hopkins. What was your childhood like? Well, I chopped my parents up into little pieces. Get a little time. And so, you want to go to Applebee's for lunch, or what do you think? I'd be terrified of that. This has been a hell of a lot of fun, and we appreciate all the text messages you've sent our way. We've been talking about that one coworker. I'll be damned. That one coworker who was so odd, so dangerous, so creepy, so whatever, that you still talk about him to this day. Him or her. That one friggin' coworker. Got plenty of messages, trying our hardest to keep up with them. We're at 651-989-9393. What do you got, Cubby?
How about this one? I had a coworker who would ask for a ride home from work, then talk about all the ways they could kill me and my coworkers and get away with it.
Oh, my God.
Apparently, he did kill someone 2 years later.
Oh! At
No
work?
way.
It didn't say at work. It sounds like it was a girlfriend.
Yeah, I'm giving you a ride home. Can we talk about the ball game last night or something? That's, oh my damn.
And like we were saying, a lot of people get caught masturbating at work. Too old to be stoned at work, Jesus had an old coworker once fired from a company for rubbing one out in the bathroom and leaving a mess.
Oh.
He said he was known in the industry for this. Can you imagine that's your reputation?
No, I can't.
Works by myself, for myself, Jesus said that technically he masturbates at work 3 to 5 times a week. Well, he works by himself and for himself.
A little different.
Wisco maple syrup, Jesus said, my old boss got fired for smacking the security person on the ass at work. Apparently she did moonlight as a stripper, but it's still wrong.
No, you dumb bastard.
So remember the story about a groomer who talked about working with someone who used to raise her hand to go to the bathroom and go to lunch?
Yes.
She said, we hired another gal who we later found out set her old grooming salon on fire, so they were too scared to fire her.
God
They ended up
dang.
just telling her they didn't have enough business to fill her appointments. They're afraid of how she'd take getting fired.
A pyromaniac, an arsonist. That would frighten me.
Me too. Vintage video game collector Jesus worked with a guy that made his own little hideout in the upstairs mezzanine. When
Love
someone
that.
discovered it, he said there was porn and, let's say, evidence on the wall.
Don't love that part.
They put it on the wall.
How much would this freak you out? From Minnesota floor sanding Jesus. About 7 years ago, I had a coworker who was so obsessed with me, what I wore, what I did outside of work, etc. One Monday, he showed up to work with the exact same shoes I had on and said, look, were matching. I ended up telling my boss it was either him or me.
Dude. Like a work stalker.
Yeah. Can you imagine? We're in the same clothes. This person, I worked with a guy in an apartment maintenance. He got caught in a lady's apartment dressed in her clothes.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Don't do that.
If you're a dude, you want to dress in ladies' clothes, go ahead, but just get your own.
Yeah, right. Don't break into somebody's place. One of my coworkers told the boss she had to leave 15 minutes early. Yeah, I got to go beat someone's ass.
I love that.
At least she's honest.
I love that. 15 minutes early, where are you going? I got to go beat somebody's ass.
Have fun. Good luck.
You know, when I was a teenage kid, I worked a warehouse gig. Loved it. It was a riot. The greatest characters. All we did was laugh and raise hell. I just loved that job. I missed those guys. Never should have quit that gig. But there was one guy who lived in a tree outside the warehouse.
Oh.
Lived in a tree.
Quick commute?
He showed us where he lived one day. You step outside the back door of the warehouse, and there was like a low-hanging, big, fat branch on this tree, and he had some blankets and whatnot.
He did not.
Yes, he did. He lived in a tree. And, you know, of course, we all thought, me being a naive teenage kid, I thought, well, this poor guy. Well, I guess the story was that he came from a very normal, functioning household, but he hated his parents, so he chose to live in a tree.
That's the next step.
Dude, I mean, rain or shine. You can find him after work hours. You can find him in his tree.
What in the world?
You guys want to swing over for some beers later?
Yeah.
I'm right across the street in the Maple.
Right, here's a few more that I got from our listeners, and we appreciate it very much. Oh, worked with a guy years ago. This is Lube Salesman Jesus. Worked with a guy years ago. He was very awkward and introverted. Sure, we may have razzed him a little. That's what you do on the job. You bust balls.
Yeah, it's fun.
Very awkward and introverted individual. Eventually, after a stretch of time, he walked up to Lube Salesman Jesus and one of his work buddies and just calmly and quietly said, "You just made the list." And then he walked away. That would be frightening.
What list? Why did I make it?
Do I want to be on the list?
No, I don't think you want to be on the list, actually.
No, that's the vibe he was giving off.
No,
it's a bad list.
That's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah, I'll risk it being a good list and saying I don't want to be on it. I'll just assume it's not a good list.
I don't think I've ever been on a good list.
I love this one because I can tell a relatable story, and I'm self-centered like that. A listener says, an old coworker of mine would always take his index finger and his thumb and pinch the tip of his pee-pee.
Interesting.
Weird.
Can you picture that?
Nervous
yeah,
tick.
I can picture it.
That's like what little kids do when they're trying to stop themselves from peeing their pants.
Just a kid in sweatpants just blatantly grabbing his junk.
Richfield Jesus had a coworker who was a cook that would pull his junk out of his pants and just leave it out all day under his apron and then periodically flash people.
No,
what is wrong with people?
That's criminal.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Someone else says they work at a local strip club here, and apparently they had a dancer take a dump on the floor to assert her dominance over the other dancers.
Yeah,
and this just happened Saturday.
Please tell me this didn't happen. She took a dump on the floor of the strip joint?
I'm the alpha dog here.
Dominance. Wow.
So back to this text about the dude who would take his thumb and his index finger and habitually, I guess, pinch the tip of his PP. Many years ago at one of these warehouse jobs, again, that I loved so much, this was just the saddest situation. This old-timer joined our night crew. He was really, honestly, too old for the job. You know, this was physical work, but he got hired. And he was a very friendly old guy, down on his luck. I think he had run his own business for many years, and somehow it all went into the toilet. And this guy, who was, I'm going to guess, over 70 years old, just needed any job. It was sad. So I always was really friendly to him, and he was a really friendly guy, but he had a terrible habit. It wasn't creepy. This was not sexual in any way, but he would, while having conversation, he would squeeze the living hell out of his penis and balls. He just would. I don't know if he had crotch rot or it was just a nerve, but he would. And it was bothersome. It was unnerving, but I know, I'm telling you, it had nothing, there was nothing creepy about it. Well, the night shift manager, this bothered him, and he brought it up all the time. Whenever the old man would walk away, he'd say, I'm tired of watching that son of a bitch play with himself. And I'd say, he's not playing. So I'd argue with this guy and say, please don't call him out on this. Please, look at the poor guy. But finally, one day, here comes the old timer, and he's like, well, I'd stacked up all the boxes, so I'm whatever you'd like me to do next. And he's grinding away at his gear with his right hand. And the night shift guy goes, God dang it, Johnny, stop playing with your nuts, for Christ's sake, I'm tired of watching you. And the old guy walks away all sad and embarrassed. I felt like garbage.
Oh, that's too bad.
That's a really awful
I was so pissed at the boss. I said, how could you do that to the guy? I even walked up to old Johnny and, kind of hung out with him for a couple hours because I felt bad.
Yeah, you just got to start grabbing your own. Look, it's okay.
Yeah, I probably...
Stripper Sitter Jesus, he's got a couple of more clarifications on the stripper that took a dump on the floor. It was the bathroom floor, and apparently some of the other dancers, or one of the other dancers wasn't paying attention and stepped in it and fell.
Oh, please stop this.
Picture like those big stripper heels.
Are you saying that she stepped in it and slipped in it?
That's what he said.
No.
Somebody else texted in and said the only way to solve this is just you got to rub the stripper's nose in it who did it. That'll teach her.
Bad girl.
Chugged Up Plumber Jesus worked with a guy that always put off a weird molesty vibe. He was arrested after he broke into another coworker's house at night and they found him standing, staring at the bed.
Dude. And everybody knows, especially if you've been listening to this show for a while, you know that if you want to establish dominance in the workplace, day one, sit down, wait for someone to join you who's been there for years, and then you launch an incredibly loud fart.
Yeah,
that's how you
be kind of a jerk about it afterwards.
Yes, exactly. That's how you do it.
And you just claim that's just my thing.
Hey, this is what I do.
That's exactly right.
I had a coworker, this text says, at my high school job at a sporting goods store who told me he had a double degree at Harvard and he actually almost found the cure for cancer, but you see what happened was the government told him he couldn't do the research.
Oh, no.
That's too bad. How unfortunate.
Guy was just trying to do his own research.
We got that close. Thanks for all the texts. There's a lot of great ones coming in. Sorry the ones we couldn't get to. This has been fun.
We'll remember this for next time.
Yeah, we're going to have to.
The Half-Assed Morning Show backtracks.
Did you know that Standard Heating opened its doors over 90 years ago? That's right. Tony Ferreira opened the doors in 1930, now ran by his granddaughter Claire Ferreira. Call Standard Heating and Air Conditioning today and experience the customer service and care that holds true today.
It is savings on a stick season with Standard Heating and Air Conditioning's State Fair specials. Deals on deals on deals that can save you thousands. Visit standardheating.com for all their State Fair deals. Standard Heating, providing the comfort you deserve since 1930.
When you have sports mixed with your pop culture, along with humor and celebrity interviews, your earbuds are enjoying The Rich Eisen Show.
Good to see you, Bruce Feldman, the Big 12 landscape. I just know how Dion is, where he's coming from. His wins are measured differently. The question is, as you said, it's got to go from 4 to 8.
I think they can do that. It would be hard not to get better considering how bad they were on the offensive line last year. Now, their schedule actually feels harder this year than it was last year.
Search for The Rich Eisen Show on YouTube or wherever you listen.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show Backtracks Edition.
For those of you who got involved, we certainly hope your Valentine's Day celebrations last night were a dream by God come true. I have to admit, Josh, that I got caught up in the spirit of Valentine's Day last night.
I knew you would. First one with the new wife.
I got a little carried away. I ought to tell you now because you're my closest bro. You should be the first to know. I got engaged again.
Oh, same person or someone different?
What my friggin' wife doesn't know won't hurt her any at all.
Oh, no.
I got engaged again.
Congrats.
Got caught up in the moment. Now comes all the planning for my big day and everything. So I thought you should be the first to know.
Well, I've brought it up, but I guess it's been a long time. I've actually been married twice, just like you, soon to be Ashley, Dana coming up here. As my wife and I got married a second time at the Renaissance Festival when we renewed our wedding vows in front of Doth legions of villagers and whatnot that they have there.
That's really cool.
I had forgotten about that.
Did you celebrate by Lady and the Tramping one of those big turkey legs together?
We did. Well, actually, we each had our own because she's kind of a pig.
Those are good.
We wrapped our arms. We wrapped our arms around each other's arms. You know, we went through, made the little bit of a loop where I ate my own, she ate hers, and then washed it down with a goblet of grape juice.
That sounds like a dream. If I ever get married again, I've always wanted to do it at the Ren Fest because they have like venues you can rent out that aren't that crazy expensive. And it'd be cool to like dress up like that.
Ours was a shotgun wedding, well, maybe a sword wedding, I don't know what you'd say, because we just noticed they were doing it. People were renewing their vows, and we said, well, what the heck?
Cool.
Let's go.
I remember that. I have to admit, it aggravated me then, and it aggravates me now.
But yeah, I remember you giving me some crap about that.
Yeah, that you renewed your vows at the friggin' Renaissance Festival.
Right next to the guy making pickle/penis jokes.
Oh,
nice.
Love that guy.
And about 10 feet away from vegetable justice, where that guy throws out insults like I've never heard and pisses off big, muscular, blown lats dudes to throw tomatoes at him.
I've done that before. It's really fun.
Angry alpha males.
Big, muscular, blown lats dudes?
Those guys.
Yeah.
Boom. The lats are blown up?
Yeah, they're huge.
And they never make it. They have no accuracy.
Usually, yeah, they're a little tight, and they're so angry that anger doesn't let it. And I mean, what's that guy's name? Was it Mousy? Muggsy? I know somebody knows. Somebody will text us, and because I forget every single time. He is a genius. I don't even like to be in his line of sight because he'll go after other people.
How many years into your marriage did you renew your vows at the Renaissance Festival?
Just a few. Within 3. I forget exactly.
Why did you do it? Just
like I said, it was just happening. Oh, and, we just walk by, and my wife's like, "Hey, why don't we go up and do that?"
Okay, I missed. Yeah, you did say that. I was still focusing on the blown lats and things like that. That is, it's cute, but I got to admit, mostly aggravating.
It's a crossbow wedding. I said shotgun wedding. Thank you, big rig fenders. Jesus, I had a crossbow
wedding. That's too much for me. So now, as Josh said, the world moves on to Single Awareness Day. Some folks, that's what some folks call today. Single Awareness Day. I mean, it's become a thing. It's supposed to celebrate the single people. And the, what's the word I'm looking for? The assumption, I guess. The assumption is that single people are just, we're single. We're the happiest people of you married people don't even. I have so much fun. Yay, single people. That's the assumption. That's the stereotype, I guess. But then I read a poll asked single people if they agree with the statement, I'm single and loving it, and only 10% said yes. So maybe this, show of joy and, how single folks are constantly reminding you how their life is better than yours if you're married. We are so happy. Single is the best way to go. Maybe that's all a cover for a lot of misery. I don't know.
I think it can be for sure.
I wonder when they ask when this poll takes place, though. Is it if it's around Valentine's Day, maybe the answer is going to be a little different. They're thinking about it more than they normally would. I mean, yeah, I guess maybe it also age makes a difference, right?
Yeah.
If you're in your 50s and you're single, maybe that bothers you a little bit compared to if you're in your 20s, where it's a gift from God for some folks.
You're probably right, Cubby. You're probably right.
I'm usually not, so that's good to hear, actually.
Oh, don't even. Single Awareness Day. Did I say that correct? Singles Awareness Day.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm different. I don't know. I had a hell of a lot of fun as a single guy, but I mean, even back when I was married 20-some years ago, we still had a hell of a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. I liked.
I've been lucky in my first marriage. We were very young, so it wasn't as if there were any lockdown rules on where I go and who I go with. And, you went out with your friends last night. Can't we just stay in tonight? We were young enough to where that didn't come into play, and she wasn't that type of gal. And now in my current marriage, which is, let me see if I can do this. 4 months old, my current marriage. I mean, it does obviously help that I've known this woman for 35 years. It's not as if, we fall into line with some of the bad habits that married couples fall into line with, where one is trying to control the other. And you know what I'm saying?
No surprises.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
I mean, for Christ's sake,
I like being single until there was like nights where you're alone and it's just like you and you're like, it'd be kind of nice to have somebody else here right now.
So you felt some of that singles loneliness?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, no.
Or especially dating is awful. Going out on...
I can't even imagine.
Just awful. The only upside was the majority of the time I'd get a free meal. That was pretty cool.
Going on dates, you mean?
yeah, that was pretty sweet.
There's they just talked about that yesterday in a couple of studies on who should pay for a first date, and the majority of people said the man should pay for the first date.
I think it depends who asks out who.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can throw that in there. What happens if it's two dudes going out on a date or two girls going out on a date? How do you do that? Is it the person that asked the other person?
I think it's an arm wrestling match.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
How are the lats on one guy?
They're yoked, bro.
I don't know if this will make sense or not, but I think I'm a relationship guy.
You absolutely are a relationship guy.
Yeah, I don't, I hoarded up for a couple of years of my life, but I've never really been into that, right? That's never really been my style. So this is the part that might be confusing. I don't feel like I need to be in a relationship where if I'm single, I'll be fine. But I think just my nature is just to go from girlfriend to girlfriend with no overlap. And however long that takes in between, that's fine by me. Hopefully that's not confusing.
I'll go along with it. I think I know what you mean.
Like I'd rather be in a relationship than date. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
Yep.
I'll go along with it because knowing you as long as I have, you haven't been single much. Not much. You were usually in a relationship. But when you weren't, I never heard you complain or ask for help. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that must confirm your theory on yourself that you enjoy being in a relationship, but you don't need it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel.
I'll go along with it. But now that I'm thinking about it, Jesus, how long have we known each other? Near 30 years? You've almost never been without a significant other.
Yeah,
almost never.
Since I first started dating, very infrequent.
So I'm gonna back your theory. What else is there on Single Awareness Day here? Searches for speed dating and things like that go up.
I saw a thing on the news yesterday. It was on mute, so I didn't get all the details, but they showed a poll and said that speed dating is now making a comeback in 2024.
Really? Well, yeah, we heard it. We actually talked about that a few weeks ago, didn't we?
About how it was hot for like a 6-month stretch, like 10 or 15 years ago. Now apparently it's making its comeback.
Yeah, we talked about that. It was like Texas Hold'em tournaments and swing dancing.
Yeah.
It was the most popular thing on planet Earth for about a week and a half.
Oh, and cigar smoking.
Remember
that? That was everybody did that for a while.
So, okay, Single Awareness, around this time of year, Valentine's Day, Single Awareness Day, searches for speed dating apps go up.
I could never do speed dating.
Oh, I could.
I think it'd be
That'd
fun.
Be fun, yeah. But I would think of it as more of a game than like trying to find somebody.
Dana would dominate at speed dating. You talk so fast, you make a 4-syllable word and oftentimes a 2-syllable word. You could get a ton out in that whatever limited amount of time they give you.
They wouldn't follow what it is you're saying.
Not necessarily.
But a lot of words would come out of your mouth in a short period of time.
And I feel like 5 minutes is about like my charming window. And then it's about minute 6 where all of a sudden they're like, oh, I don't know about this guy.
That's a good point.
You're like George Costanza from Seinfeld. You find a good out, you get up and you move on.
And like George, I think it was George, I think it was him or somebody else from a sitcom's like, I've got 3 date stories and that's it. Once I've said those 3 stories, I've got nothing else to say.
There are a lot of searches going on right now, folks on their cell phones, searching for a new dating app called Score that requires you to have a credit score of at least 675, whatever that means.
Okay, I'm out.
Does that? Well, yeah, you work in radio. You don't need to say that.
What is that? Is that a terrific credit score?
It's not. I mean, it's not out of the park crazy to achieve, but it's better than most.
Doesn't it go up to 800?
850.
850?
Or
Yeah.
840 or 850.
Not trying to brag here, but I've never had. I don't have any idea what makes a good or a bad credit score because I've always made a point of never having any outstanding bills.
Well, there you go. You probably have a great credit score then.
The last
well,
time,
not necessarily. I mean, you need some credit history.
Well, no, I do. And the only reason I know that is when I bought my latest house, whoever is the person that sits down there with you and you talk about your money, whoever that person is, they said, by damn, you've got a great credit score.
Nice.
It's a witch doctor. Those are the who you want to go to.
It looks like 715's average.
Oh,
that's
well, then
average?
What the hell?
Oh, that seems high to me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that. Why, yeah. I never would have guessed that. I would assume you were elite.
I don't.
That kinda made me feel
I don't
bad.
spend any big money on anything ever. So I guess that helps. You know, I don't have any outstanding credit card bills because I buy fancy clothes or anything like that. So, you know, it's been easy to keep a nice credit score because I don't get involved in spending big dollars on anything.
Well, mortgages and car loans, that help you out.
Yep.
The student loans, maybe? I guess I don't know if they count those or not.
I know my car loan really helped my credit score.
Unless you pay it off, then they're like, ha 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 ha. Thank you for doing this awesome thing. Your credit score is going to drop.
Your local 34 Jesus says 839 here, boys.
Nice. Wow, look at you.
He is a desirable fella. It's not Steak and BJ Day. People are texting in.
I'm so
that's
burned
in
out on
March
that
or
bit.
something, right?
Seems like that happens every single day.
That's one of my least favorite bits on planet Earth. Everybody has a different version of when Steak and BJ Day is, and I'm tired of hearing about it. All year round, every month, we get somebody that'll text and say, how come you guys aren't talking about Steak and BJ? Because every one of you has a different version of when it falls on. And most of the guys who text about that haven't seen a BJ in decades. Sorry, I blew up. Back to Valentine's Day. For Christ's sake, there's all kinds of information here in front of me about what percentage of people have been in love. Have you ever been in love with two people at the same time? How many times have you been in love? But you know what they don't cover in here, Josh? They don't cover the people who don't believe in love. I don't. 1988 Queensryche Operation Mindcrime. We don't need to get into this whole love thing, but there's this big write-up here about how many times have you been, how many people at once. It just goes on and on forever. And suddenly it's winter again.
Yeah, it is.
That was very, very scary this morning.
It was?
Yeah, I did not have a good time.
Oh, I wanted to thank the plow guys and gals. I had a very easy time on my way in.
Yeah, my hands were sore by the time I got here from gripping the steering wheel so hard.
Oh, my God.
Last night was brutal.
Oh, yeah, you had a
Waffles.
little wild pre-party in Ramsey, right?
Yeah, so I had an hour and a half drive all the way home from Ramsey to Woodbury. It was brutal. I think we were going like 30 miles per hour the whole time.
Serves you right for, number one, living in Woodbury and accepting a bar gig in Ramsey.
I really can't choose where I'm going, but
You can choose not to go.
not
Nah,
really.
good on this one, guys.
You have no choice and not you have to go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Call Dana, he'll take the gig.
I'll do it for you.
He's got hair plugs to pay for.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Hair plugs and an engagement.
Suddenly it's winter again, at least for the next 2-3 days. It's supposed to be up in the 40s here in a couple days, so not a big deal. But it's a little bit of an adventure out there.
Got some shoveling to do when I get home.
I had to dig my car out this morning. That was a process.
Man, a lot of our listeners want to talk about love here.
There's some great text coming
They
in.
want to talk about how love hurts, love bites, and love stinks.
Yeah, someone specifically asked if when you make love, do you look in a mirror?
Right.
Def Leppard reference.
You ever experienced love in an elevator? Some are wondering what love's got to do with it. All these questions. We'll try to find an answer by the end of the program. So you didn't see anybody go whipping into the ditch or anything last night, Wapple?
Oh, I saw 5 cars in the ditch.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, did you see anyone, actually in the process go into the ditch?
No. But then I did see someone, they put on their 4-way flashers. They were going like 4 miles per hour down 694.
Maybe they were having a medical, what's the word I'm looking for, Josh? Episode.
Event?
Medical episode.
It kind of looked like they haven't driven in snow before.
Oh, that's scary.
Here we
They were
go.
right up on the wheel.
Another Minnesotan who's
Right
going
up
to
on the
teach us
wheel.
all how to drive in the winter.
You just described what Ashley described herself as on the way in. I saw some unfortunate tire tracks. That's about all I saw.
There's about
Looked like you're not supposed to drive there.
there's already 9 crashes in the metro area this morning.
I'm sure
so.
it's going to be bad. But the reason
yeah.
I ask, Wapple, is one of my fondest memories of my bar gigging days. Because you're doing a lot of bar gigs now. I did them for many, many, many years. And
Legacy.
Pardon me?
Carrying on the legacy.
Is that what Wapple's doing?
He's carrying it on.
He's like my son, carrying on my legacy of bar gigs. One of my fondest memories was driving home from Burnsville. Serves me right. See, I can go ahead and admit it. It serves me right for agreeing to a bar gig in Burnsville. I had a choice, and I said yes. And I had to drive from Burnsville to the greatest city in the world, Wayzata, Minnesota, after a brutal snowstorm. And it was one of those deals where every swinging D in town knew this brutal snowstorm was on its way, so I'm calling the bar all afternoon long. You still want me to come out and do this stupid thing? No one's coming out. It's the worst snowstorm in weeks. Yeah, let's have you out. And I tried to get out of it. No, you got to come out for the... So I do the gig on the way home on 494. I watch some dude do about 11 and a half donuts, completely out of control, and he goes into the ditch. That made the trip worthwhile.
Was that the story where you guys locked eyes as he was going around?
Well, you might be thinking, I don't know if that happened to Nick, but I told you that happened to me.
Okay.
Crossing the bridge right over here in Minneapolis. Yeah, some guy, he's on the bridge, he spun out right in front of me. I mean, right in front of me, did a 360, and it was like slow motion where his eyes were huge, mine were huge. We looked at each other like, what the hell are we going to do now? And it was the perfect 360, and he kept on his way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Wapple is accurate, though, because the same thing happened to me on 494. Because in my Burnsville bar gig, it was midnight, on the way home. You're referring to an episode I had on 494, Broad Daylight, terrible snowstorm, where a guy started spinning, and yes, we locked eyes. And it's something that I'll never forget. He kind of looked at me as if he was saying, can you help with this at all? Because I was one car behind him, and as he lost control, he looked to me for at least spiritual or emotional help.
It was like,
and I had nothing to provide.
My guy kind of had a, can you believe this is happening look on his face.
It's like Talladega Nights. Am I flying through the air right now?
The half-assed morning show backtracks.
Has it been long enough to where I could tell the Mouse Pizza story again?
Even if it wasn't, that's fun to hear.
Dana, do you know the Mouse Pizza story?
I do not know this one, no.
Oh, gosh.
Back when I was about 18 or 19, living in a garbage house with my dad, standing in the kitchen. Of course, when you're 18, 19, what do you live off of? Frozen pizza.
Yep.
A lot of that. So one night I'm in my dad's kitchen. I'm in our kitchen. And you ever get that feeling that you saw something out of the corner of your eye and then you look and it's gone?
Definitely.
And I had that feeling while I'm standing in the kitchen. What was that? I swear to God, I just saw something out of the corner. Well, finally, I did catch what I was seeing. On the stovetop, you got those burners on the top of the sumbitch.
Yep.
A mouse was popping its head up from the inside of the stove up under the burner.
Hello.
Yeah.
Like what's that old game? Where you
Whack-A-Mole.
Whack-A-Mole, yeah.
Oh, I just got the chills. I hate mice.
And then, so I stood still for a while, and he popped his head up out from under a different burner. Hey, how's it going? And then he goes back down. And he saw me, saw him. Did that make sense?
Yeah, it actually did.
He saw me see him. And so, just young and dumb, I set up a mouse trap on top of the stove. And that night, I caught him. But it never dawned on me, I think, until the next day. I thought, oh, wait a minute. I just assumed one rogue mouse ran through the stove on that given night, and he was looking around, and I killed him. End of the problem. It never dawned on me, oh, wait a minute. If there's one mouse running around the stove, I wonder if, there are others.
And that's how mouse pizza was invented.
Mm-hmm.
Delicious.
Art is killing me. What's a Big Mac taco?
And so I opened the stove. And took a look. And there were 2 or 3 obvious melted mouse carcasses inside the stove. And then it dawned on me, oh my God, the last 3-4 tombstones that I threw into this stove
appropriate
to eat for dinner were flavored by burning mouse carcass.
How many months later did you clean those out?
And did you try to market it at all? Maybe get in touch with the Tombstone people and say, I got the next big thing in pizza.
No, I scraped the carcasses out of there.
I would have never been able to do that.
And
vomit everywhere.
My dad and I, we carried on. I do remember the lack of any real concern when I told my dad, hey, the last, 100 meals we've had out of that stove probably had mouse parts on it. He was like, well, that's too bad. So I set up some more traps. That's when I realized that house was more or less infested.
I've had that before.
But, yeah, I'll never forget seeing those melted, in some cases you could kind of see the look of horror on the dead mouse's face as he was dying. Kind of like Han Solo when he's
encrypted in carbonite.
They put him in that chocolate bar.
That's what I was picturing.
Yeah, the mouse is kind of like right before he died. The mouse pizza. Yeah, it was one of those moments in life that you never forget.
Yeah, I'm picturing the faces of the researchers in the most recent season of True Detective. Anybody else watch that?
Not yet,
out there on
no.
the ice.
I haven't gotten to the new season. Is that irony that he died by a tombstone pizza?
That would, I believe you could qualify that as irony. Well, let me see. It's like rain on a wedding day. It's like 10,000 spoons. Yeah, that's irony.
Okay. I'm going to go along with it, Wapple. From now on, when I tell that story, I'm going to say, would you like to hear a tale of irony? And people are going to scoot up at the bar and say, well, yeah, I've been waiting all night.
Settle in, everybody.
Ooh, those infestations are something else, aren't they, Nick?
Mouse pizza.
Yeah.
Yes. That house that my dad and I were living in, it's a terrible realization, isn't it? When you... And that, then I could tell the story of the mouse and the hockey stick. I could go on, but yeah, when you realize, when someone's probably saying, what, a mouse ran across the floor carrying a hockey stick? No, I'll tell you that some other time.
Mouse rockets.
Mouse rockets, that came later in life. But when you realize your place is infested, it sucks. But I have to say that what followed was great fun. And that was setting up traps all over the house and hearing them snappity snap, snap, snap all night long.
Great fun? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I really enjoyed.
Did it sound like Alex Van Halen playing a tune?
Yeah, I mean, you are what's the word? Masquerading as an HVAC technician with your Apollo hooded sweatshirt.
It could be incriminating.
I lived the life of a what's the term?
Like a mouse hunter?
Rodent what's the word? Exterminator. I played the role of an exterminator for a while. I enjoyed setting up the traps strategically, again, hearing them pop on and off all night long. And then it was very satisfying when we ridded ourselves of them altogether. That was kind of a fun little couple, 3-4 weeks of my life when I was a young teenage kid.
I've got a buddy. I mean, it's kind of pathetic. His wife has to kill all the bugs in the house, right?
You have a buddy.
Yeah. And so, but on the flip, so his wife is not afraid of any bug whatsoever. It's gross, whatever, disgusting.
This is your buddy's wife, not...
Yeah. I'm saying my buddy.
Okay. Oh, the story sounds familiar.
I don't know why it would. So my buddy's wife, she'll kill anything. Doesn't matter how, like a scorpion infestation doesn't bother.
Right.
But the thing about my wife is that she's not afraid of
See, now,
mice.
you just said your wife. And earlier you were saying it was your buddy.
Check
and your...
the tape. I didn't say that. It's my buddy.
Oh, we'll check the tape. So go ahead.
All right, so if we're in my house, his wife will, if she sees a mouse, she'll move out. And it's so strange to me because mice don't really bug me. I mean, him. Oh, no. Now everyone knows. And I wish I was kidding, but if I see a bug, honey, you gotta come get this thing.
Mice don't bother you.
Not at all.
The wife will pack her bags.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not excited when we have an infestation of some sort, but I can handle a mouse, a rat, something like that. Those don't creep me out.
Insects don't bother your wife.
Nope, not at all.
And there is no kind of sex that bothers your wife.
Nothing.
But you will run for the hills.
Yeah.
And so you make a perfect team
We
when you
are
need
perfect
to
that way.
get rid of something or another. You've had real infestations.
Oh, big time. Our current house, it was really bad. Like, we had to get rid of drywall and I mean, we had to pull out like okay, I'm going to show my ignorance of how houses work, but you know, like those garbage bag looking tubes, and sometimes they look like something on a space shuttle that will go from a fan to the outside.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
I'm sure there's a term for it that escapes me.
I got a buddy who doesn't know what those things are called either. Did you enjoy the process of elimination, though? Like I was, we obviously didn't have it that bad where the walls were falling down at the house that me and Dad and I were, the house that my dad and I were living in where we were eating mouse pizza. We didn't have it that bad. But did you enjoy the process? Did you hear those late night traps snapping and you get excited to go find the...
You know what we did? And this was a suggestion from the Brotherhood. Because our last house, we're going to sound like we attract mice, but our last house had one too. And an infestation, I mean. And they said, you know what you do is you grab a Home Depot bucket, fill it about halfway, and put peanut butter around the rim. And they said that works. So I thought, well, I wonder how well it can work. So I tried it. Next day, I go to the garage to go to work, and there was like the most deadly pool party in there. And they invited all their friends. The whole neighborhood was in there.
Really?
This big bucket of floating mice.
Did you bring it to work?
That sounds like a nightmare.
I didn't bring it to work.
By the
At
way,
the time, we had a no pet policy.
I got something you can put peanut butter around the rim of. But
my word.
Ouch. Where was I going with that? Oh, one time I heard the trap snap in the middle of the night, and I jumped out of bed because that was part of the fun. Oh, God, look at that poor bastard. I cracked him right in half, right? You know, sorry if that sounds morbid, but we were trying to get rid of the mice in our house.
Right in half.
One time it was in the laundry room. I came down because I heard the trap snap in the laundry room, and I got one of them little peckerheads just by his back right leg.
Oh, really?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
That's the worst.
And when I walked in, he literally went, ah! And he was kind of dragging it around. You see what he's trying to get away from me, but he can't. I felt bad. I cut him loose in the yard.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
But I don't know if that was so nice because now he's wounded and he's out. But I felt bad. That was the one time I felt bad, and I took the trap and him hanging from it out into the yard, and I lifted up the little snappy thing, and I let him take off. He kind of was dragging that dead leg behind him, but I felt like I should give him a chance.
I can picture the day you're moving out of that house and you move to your next one, and he's kind of standing there with crutches at the end of your driveway, just giving you a head nod. You will be missed.
Hey, thanks for being cool that one night.
I'm not going to forget you, dude.
Yeah. He's standing there with his little mouse wife and mouse family.
Yeah.
He salutes you on your way out.
And I say, it's just bros looking out for bros. I'll see you. I write down my new address for him. Come see me sometime.
Dana's right. He's got a new baby, and he's looking at you like, "Hey, thank you for this. You didn't take his father."
I still remember watching him kind of scoot across the yard when I let him go. He's like, "Sweet, I get to get the hell out of here." He probably died seconds later. A hawk swooped down and tore his guts out. But whatever.
Well, that hawk was probably excited about it.
In my mind, I was doing the right thing.
When we were kids, we had the snap traps like that. But my wife, she doesn't like to see any of it, so we had the ones where they go in and then it just locks them in a little mouse prison, which are more expensive.
Right.
She doesn't want to see one on her own because we have a laundry chute at the house, And apparently that was great fun for them to jump down that thing. So she pulls the laundry basket out. She would find some. And I really thought we were going to put our house up for sale. She just couldn't handle it.
Oh, man. That's how you do it right there. All right. What was I saying earlier?
You were asking what a Big Mac something was. Taco.
Big Mac taco.
Oh, Jesus.
And that, by the way, we're getting a lot of text going, you can't just say Big Mac taco and not explain what it is.
Fine.
Yes.
Go
So
ahead. Give it to us from start to finish.
You take all the ingredients of a Big Mac, you put them on your flat stone, and then you take the burger meat, put that on top, smash it with a tortilla. Big Mac taco.
Okay.
I never would have thought of that.
So delicious.
So you take a Big Mac and put it in a taco. Seems like that's all you had to say.
Yep.
All right.
Here's a better way to do it. Take whatever a flat stone dorky cooking nerd thing is, throw that in the garbage. You go to Burger, what was it? A Big Mac what?
Taco.
You go to McDonald's, get a Big Mac. Go to Taco Bell, get a taco.
Big Mac taco.
Smash it into your face.
Tape them together.
Use some Riggers tape.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, you poop it out.
Oh, I wish. That's not my story, my friend.
Poor Josh.
Within the next week, you poop it out. Painfully.
Oh, man.
10 to 14 days later.
You guys get gross every once in a while. What's wrong with you?
I'm sorry.
The 93X Half-Ass Morning Show. 93
The 93X Half-Ass Morning Show podcast is sponsored by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. New episodes drop each weekday. If your podcast platform has ratings, go ahead and give us 5 stars and maybe give our enemies 1. Thanks, and here's a word from our sponsor.
It is savings on a stick season with Standard Heating and Air Conditioning's State Fair specials. Deals on deals on deals that can save you thousands. Visit standardheating.com for all their State Fair deals. Standard Heating, providing the comfort you deserve since 1930.